And the podcast will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I have the honor, the privilege, and my God, I'm so excited. I have everything in between to introduce our guest. He is the musical director and the conductor of the Filipino American Symphony Orchestra, otherwise known as FASO. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Paco Arespacochaga podcast, live here at Pacos Place, Mr. Robert Shroder.
Hi, Paco. Good evening. It's good to be here.
My goodness. For the longest time, and I will say a little bit, oh my God, more than a decade.
Yeah, this is our 12th season. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have been admiring you from afar.
Oh, thank you.
As in, a good friend of mine, he's like a brother. Maybe you know him, maybe you vaguely know him. His name is Christian Buado.
Oh, yes, of course. He's one of our percussionists.
That's his bass guitar right over
Okay.
there. Said so many good things about you.
Oh, thank you.
And then there's this curly guy who actually noodles in guitars sometimes. His name is Perfecto de Castro.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he said so many good things about you also.
Yes. Every time we need the rhythm section, Perp's always part of it. Yeah.
And then there's Edgar who plays the drums.
Yes, Edgar.
Lahat sila. And then sino pa bang Janelle So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All of them said so many good things about you. And now I'm sobrang starstruck ako actually.
Thank you.
You speak Tagalog, right?
Marunong, siyempre. I grew up in the Philippines. Yeah.
What's your backstory, Kuya Bob? Can I call you Kuya Bob?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. What's your backstory? What happened in the Philippines? Why were you brought there?
I grew up in the Philippines. My mother was a Filipina.
Okay.
And my father is Caucasian. He's from Ohio.
Right.
So he's American. And then they met there. My mom used to work in a U.S. military facility.
Okay.
And my father was in the military. So that's how they met.
Ah.
Yeah. And then my father was stationed in the Philippines. He was stationed back in Fort San Diego in Japan. And then so we decided to just stay in the Philippines. So I grew up there most of the time during the day. My babysitter, my grandparents, of course. And my grandfather was a member of the world-renowned Philippine Constabulary Band.
So music was in the family talaga.
In the family of my mom. My mom is a singer. She's a cantor at the church. She sings the choir. She teaches kids to sing. Yeah, it's on my mother's side family. So
Wow.
almost most of my uncles, my aunts, they sing, they play musical instrument. So it's at an early age. So that's my first exposure to music through my grandfather.
Right.
So every time in the morning, it's a daily activity. They play the stereo. They play like overture marches up to big band jazz. So my exposure is kind of wide, not only classical. So, and then at night, when my mom get home, she will play a lot of Frank Sinatra, Doris Day, those kind of standards.
And that was those standards were then pop nung time na yun.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was the
Yung mga
pop music of the time. Yeah. Oh my God. How
So-
old were you? Baby.
Yeah, since I was a child, of course, but pero walang formal education. Just the good thing is let the child listen to good music and
Wow.
don't force the child to do anything. Just keep the music playing while the child is playing or
Right.
doing anything.
Right.
And especially the music of Mozart, it's a good therapy for
Oh my-
children. So for parents, just keep playing music for your child to listen while they're playing and all that. And then time will come that if there was like interest, and they will get serious about it.
Is that what happened to you?
That's what happened to me.
How
Yeah.
old were you when this happened?
When I was 7, my first recollection is when I was 7, I told my grandfather, I want to learn that instrument. And it was a trumpet.
Oh, okay.
But there wasn't any available trumpet for me to learn. So he has an extra clarinet. So I started
Yes.
with clarinet. So I learned clarinet. And what happened there is I was able to play music by just listening. So
Really?
yeah. I can play when
And
I
you were a
listen to
kid
music.
when this was happening.
Yeah, I was
no?
like 7, 8 years old.
Wow.
So when I hear a song, so I will play the melody. And then I got so lazy learning how to read notes because I can play. It's easier for me to listen and play than to learn how to read
Pero
notes.
yung pag-read ng notes, your grandfather was the one sitting you down to read notes?
Yeah, that's part of the rudiments of music, the theory and the rudiments.
Yes.
It's part of the lesson every weekend. That's part of the lesson. But I was so bored about, why do I have to read? Why do I have to learn how to read that? I can play the melody anyway, but music and all that. But my grandfather did not force me. Okay, just keep playing. And then there's like 3 of us, and we're still friends up to now. There's like 3 of us who studied music all the same time.
Since 7?
Since 7.
Wow.
And then my other colleagues, my other barcadas, they went advanced already. So they can play, they can read. And
Like they could sight read talaga.
not really sight read,
Okay.
but they can read.
They can read, yeah.
They were like 12 years old already
Right.
back then. So because I was not serious. I just, play whenever I want to play. But so they were advanced already, and parang, wow, I was like left behind, right? And my grandfather told me that, because I told my grandfather, I would like to take lessons again. And my grandfather told me, you have a good ear.
Okay.
You have good ears, and that's really good.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a good musician, you have to learn both.
Yes.
You have to have good ears, and you have to learn how to read music. It's very, very important. Some people can read music very well, but their ears, they cannot play by ear.
Yeah.
They just depend on the music. When there's no music, they cannot play anymore.
Correct.
But you have that, you have that talent of having good ears. So keep it up. But you have to learn how to read music, because this is very important. If you want to be a musician, if you want to be a musician, you have to learn how to read music.
Yes.
Good. So, and then I was about like 12, 13 years old.
So your music skills were catching up to your widow.
Yeah, to my widow. And then when I was like 12, 13 years old, then I got more serious about it. So I learned how to read, and then I
Now,
joined.
when you say learn how to read, you learn how to read music, but your main instrument was still the clarinet, or
Yeah.
did you shift
No,
on
it's still the clarinet, but I learned how to read music more seriously. So
Okay.
I can, different time signature, different, and some complex combinations of notes. I can read those already. And then playing the clarinet. And then high school, Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire were very popular during my time. Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
And there's like bands. And during those days, you don't talk about band like 4-piece band. If you have band, you have a horn section.
band, yeah.
You have a horn section,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have at least trumpet, saxophone, and trombone. And my grandfather was a saxophone player.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was a saxophone player. So I just pick up his saxophone one time and practice it without asking him.
Really?
And then he came
I mean,
home.
I'm sure you had your own reed and you had your own.
No, I was using his.
Ay, oh.
I was using it. There's no COVID back then.
Hindi. Parang iba.
No, but he's got some spare.
Okay,
He's got
okay,
some
okay.
spare, yeah.
Okay.
So and then he went home, and I didn't know. And then he caught me playing his saxophone. I thought he was going to get mad, because
Right.
he really takes good care of his instruments. But he was, wow, you can play that? Okay, let me teach you more.
Galing.
Then I got more training on the
How
saxophone.
old were you around this
I
time?
was like 14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he taught me more. He taught me all the scales, all altissimos and stuff like that. And then while playing with the high school band, we play Commodores, Earth, Wind and Fire. That
Right.
was so much
You were
fun.
on the sax now.
On the saxophone
Is
now.
it true that it's easier to transition from sax to bass guitar?
It's totally different line of instrument from a reed instrument to like a string
yeah.
instrument. But
When you read it, like the concept, because the reason why I ask, there's a musician in the Philippines, Norby David.
Mhm.
He was a sax player, and then he transitioned all the way to bass because of his knowledge for sax.
it is because maybe he can read both treble and bass clef.
I see.
Because bass is the notes on bass is
Yeah.
bass clef.
Yes.
So you have to know how to read both.
Both,
Yeah, you have
right.
to learn how to read both. But in any instrument, for as long as you can read, the piano score, the piano staff, there's the upper portion is the G clef
Right.
portion, and then the lower portion is the bass clef portion. So if you can read those both, you can play bass instrument or any bass clef.
May story ako dyan, Kuya Bob.
Ano yan?
So the first time I sat down to session, binigyan ako ng piano guide,
Uh-huh.
right? So, since you're a conductor, alam mo naman na kung ano yung tsura ng drum chart, right?
Sure, yeah.
So, drum chart, I could read.
Yeah.
And then, sinaksakan ako ng piano
score.
guide,
Yeah.
ng piano score. Nagulat ako kasi, tapos na yung kanta, nasa gitna pa lang ako.
Mhm.
Kasi, ano yan, di ba? Treble and bass clef. Binabasa ko.
Isa-isa.
Isa-isa. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
going back to your sax
Yeah.
story. So, you started playing in a band as a sax player na.
Yes, doon na ako nag-saxophone and then until 15, 16, 17 until after high school and first year college. So nasa banda pa rin. And then after high school, medyo hindi na masyadong active yung banda kasi lahat kami busy na nasa
Right.
college and all
Right.
that. So when I went to college, when I went to UP, sabi ko, I already know how to play clarinet. I already know how to play saxophone. But my goal really was I would like to be part of a symphony orchestra.
Oh.
But I don't want to go back to the clarinet. May clarinet's a symphony orchestra, but saxophone, they seldom use saxophone. So the closest woodwind instrument is the flute. So I pick up the flute, and flute ang naging major ko sa College of Music.
Abelardo Hall.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then that was the start of my flute career, sa UP. Pero prior to that, I started taking lessons na sa flute bago ako pumasok sa konserbatoryo. Kasi you have to audition eh.
Right.
Kung June ang pasukan, I think I started in September. So I have at least 6 months of training sa flute. And that is, that's by accident also. Kasi that's why I tell some musicians, as a professional musician, we all encounter either, we call it like a phone call of a lifetime.
Right.
That phone call will bring us to where you are today.
Yes,
or,
yes.
That will bring you places.
Oh, yes.
That will bring you places,
Yes.
right? To me, it was the bus ride of my lifetime as a professional musician.
Can you tell us more?
Yeah, I was my grandparents. I grew up in Cavite.
Which part?
In Kawit, where the Philippine
Okay.
independence.
So,
were playing.
where was this base that you were talking? Sangli.
Yes, a Sangli Point. Yes.
That's where my mom and dad met.
Really? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And then
So they worked there too?
Both of them worked there.
Yeah.
And then my dad lived in Manila, but he did sales, and they were one of the vendors of the base.
The base. Okay.
My mom was a secretary at the base, and she lived in the city, Cavite City.
Wow.
Sa Caridad naman.
Sa Caridad. Yeah.
Kayo malapit sa kay Emilio Aguinaldo.
Yes, sa Kawit.
At saka sa COVID-landia.
Yes, sa COVID. yung Caridad and then yung pinaka-downtown ng Cavite City and then San Antonio is where Sangli Point is.
Yes. So I would go to PN Park,
Yes.
swim sa Lido at saka Villamar.
Yeah. And as a kid, I remember we will take the boat ride to US Embassy, yung hydrofoil.
Oh, yeah. Yung
tumataas sa
yes,
tubig.
yes.
So, so that was the,
Okay.
growing up. So,
Growing up
ganun
in
yung
Cavite,
sa Cavite. So, nung college na ako, I was taking a bus going to Manila. I took a bus. Saulog, yes. Tsaka St. Rafael.
Oo, yun na.
Yeah. So, I took the bus. And then, pagsakay ko ng bus, this one musician, nasa bus din. Kasama ko sa banda ng lolo ko yon.
Okay.
But he's older. Pangalan niya is, we used to call him E-King. Kasi Enrique yung pangalan niya. Sa Filipino E-King, di ba? But in Manila, his nickname is Eric. His name is Professor Eric Barcelo. Yeah.
Okay.
So, nung araw, tawag ko lang sa kanya, Ike, ganun. Parang Ike, di ganun. We were talking sa bus. Sabi ko, I bought a flute. Kasi he's a flutist. He was with the Manila Symphony Orchestra during that time. And I told him, I bought a flute. I would like to take some lessons if you have time. So I'll go at your house kasi he lived in Manila up to now.
Right.
At that time they live in Manila already. Sabi niya, just visit me. Here's my address, here's my phone number.
So nakita lang kayo sa bus?
Sa bus, yeah.
Wow.
So actually, yung pagpasok sa UP sa konserbatoryo, that was not the plan yet at that time. I just want to learn how to play the flute and I'll start from there, right? So I was taking lessons. I go to his house sa Malacanang, malapit sa Malacanang sa may Mendiola.
Yeah.
Nung araw, marami pa mga rally.
Yes.
Minsan
Lagi sarado nga yung sa may nagtahan.
So I would go there every week and then take flute lessons under him. So after 3, of course, I have a background already in music, so it's easier. The reading of notes is not a problem anymore. Just the embouchure and how to play the flute. So my progress was really fast. And then after 4 months, he told me, would you be interested in going to the Conservatory of Music sa UP? Sabi niya, oh, how? So I said, how? Well, you audition. Sabi ko, how can I audition? I'm just a beginner. Oh, you can audition. I can prepare for the audition.
Galing,
And then
no?
he did prepare me for that. And then I auditioned and got accepted. So that's the first, stepping stone of my career, professional musician, nung sa UP sa Conservatory of Music. And one good thing with UP is, unlike other universities outside, in UP, you're just in the campus all day, all night.
Yun nga, tambay sa campus,
Na,
diba?
it's so much fun around. You don't have to go out of the campus.
Yes.
And during college, we will practice in our studios sometimes until 9 p.m. until 10 p.m. Just practice. Because every semester you have a recital, you have to perform your major pieces.
So what were your parents saying nung time na to? They were okay with it that you were going to be a musician?
Oh yeah,
because yung I mean, of course, your mom was a singer.
Yeah.
Your grandfather was a musician. But then again, di ba sa Philippines may stigma na you have to go to school, di ba? Parang gano'n.
Exactly. But my parents, I never heard anything to discourage me. To them, it's like, go. That's a good opportunity. Go. Natanggap ka sa UP, go. I mean, that's a good opportunity.
Of course.
And then I studied hard. And then hanggang up on my second year sa konserbatoryo, so I joined the National Music Competition for Young Artists sa NAMSIA sa CCP.
Okay.
So I won the grand prize nung Then tapos tuloy-tuloy na on my fourth year, on my graduating year, I was preparing for my graduation recital. And at the same time, my teacher, si Eric Barcelo, yung professor ko,
he was there too.
He was with the Manila Symphony, but he moved sa Philippine Philharmonic sa CCP.
Yes.
So nabakante yung position niya sa Manila Symphony Orchestra.
He recommended you.
No, I auditioned for that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I auditioned. You have to audition kasi, di ba, maraming pista, maraming So I auditioned and I got the chair. So I got the first chair. So that was my first.
When you say you got the first chair, ikaw ang lead dun sa sa section.
Ikaw ang principal flutist. Ikaw ang lead ng section mo. Ganun.
Okay.
So my first tuxedo, bibihisan ka na, di ba? Yung first season concert mo, yung nasa theater ka na, this is how it looked like, di ba? So, so it's very exciting, and I will never forget that man. Of course, my grandfather, my first teacher, and if it's not, Eric Barcelo really brought me to the professional world
Talaga
of music.
nag-align, no?
Nag-align, yes. Yeah. Before kasi I was already planning to, I took business in college na, nasa business na ako ng college. And then, kasi nga, di ba, hindi ko alam kung paano papasok sa konserbatoryo. I don't know how.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how complicated.
Yes.
To me, it's very complicated, di ba? Pero at that time, dumating yung Eric Barcelo sa buhay ko. And then,
yes. He guided you toward that path.
Yeah. He guided me toward that path. So, everything is aligned. So, nagsimula na yun. And then, nasa Manila Symphony Orchestra na ako. And then at the same time, meron ka na mga, tinatawagan ka na sa mga recording, nire-recommend ka na. Yung sa recording, through recommendation.
Yes.
Because during the old days, yung mga matatandang musicians na nagre-record for the movie industry and the pop music industry, mga suplado yun sila eh.
Oh.
Pagkapasok mo sa recording studio, titignan ka na mula ulo hanggang paa, and just sit down, and if you're not good, pag hindi ka nagustuhan, hindi ka natatawagan ulit.
Para sila fraternity, no?
Yeah, that's how they were. Ganon sila. They're very meticulous.
Yeah.
But it's good kasi, you really,
It keeps the industry above standard.
Exactly. And, yun yung magiging level mo pati sa discipline mo.
Yes.
And another thing, during college, it was a great privilege to be able to be under Professor Sergio Esmilla Jr.
Oh.
He was also our conductor sa Manila Symphony at that time. But at the same time, professor din namin siya sa College of Music sa chamber music.
Okay.
Chamber music is from playing duet, trio, quartet, and all that.
Yes.
And that, meron siyang class na chamber music. It's a 40-minute class. And then, once you're assigned to play for that day, mag-form ka ng either trio or quartet.
Ikaw mamimili.
Mamimili ka trio or quartet. Papractice niyo yun before that week, before that day. And then, but when the time comes, napakabusisi niya, yung talagang papamulat niya sa yung, you have to be this way when you play like this. when he's playing like that, you will catch his melody. It's not like there's always a connection. Mga
Yes,
ganon.
yes.
When there's a rest in music doesn't mean rest, don't play. It means rest, you continue to play without sound.
Yes.
But you don't detach to the music.
I hope people pick that up if you're a musician listening to this, because that's a very valuable lesson, di ba? Kahit saan yung silence is part of the music.
Exactly. That's the most important.
Yes.
One of the most important part of music is the silence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anticipation yun eh.
Exactly. And even my musicians, I always tell them, when you have a rest, don't stop playing. Just don't make sound. But you're still within the music.
Yeah.
Don't detach.
Yes.
Right? The focus continue to be the same.
Para pagdating ng part mo, seamless pumapasok
Seamless
na.
because somebody is playing the melody or part that you will pick up.
Yeah.
It's a continuation.
Oh
That's
my
how
God,
it is.
yeah.
That's the continuation of the circle, right? But if you stop playing, there will be a millisecond, there will be a gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what you did.
Yeah, so Anders Milya talagang, oh man, you sometimes in the 40-minute class, you will only play 6 to 8 bars repeatedly. Because he want to make sure that you understand. This 8 bars, there's a lot of things happening here.
Yeah.
There's a rest, there's a connection of melody. You have to understand, because this is really the music. Once you understand that first 8 bars, the next section will be easier.
That's true.
So that's how
I totally agree.
That's how we were fed on chamber music. That was why we got very strong foundation on chamber music.
So it was called chamber music.
Chamber music, yeah.
So what's the difference between maybe an ensemble is part of chamber music?
Yes, an ensemble is a chamber music.
Okay,
It's more like a classical term. Chamber parang room, small room music. Parang
I see.
Ganun, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it can be bigger. It can be like when we went from Manila Symphony, we moved to Makati at the PCI Bank at the time during the 80s. We were called the Manila Chamber Orchestra.
I heard about that.
Yeah, we started only 25 members.
So kayo yun?
Oh, five woodwinds lang, 5 winds, flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and French horn.
And this was your day job?
Yeah.
And you got paid monthly salary?
Yeah.
Tugtog o walang tugtog?
Tugtog o walang tugtog, we get paid. Yeah. It's a full-time job. Yeah. So in the morning, and you only work 3 hours a day.
Yun na nga.
The rehearsal is only 3 hours a day. But, on your own time, you have to practice at home.
Manila Chamber.
You have to practice the pieces because hindi katulad ng pupunta ka sa rehearsal, doon ka lang No. You have to practice
You
your
have to
pieces
live, eat,
at
and
home.
breathe
Yes.
the piezas, di ba?
Kasi when you, pagdating mo sa ensemble, expected na you already know your piece.
Yes.
Ano lang yun eh. Parang ikakama
Assemble.
na lang. Yeah, assemble na lang.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
Oh my
that's
God.
Kaya it's more fun. It's more fun really playing in a smaller group kasi yung yung reflexes mo, you really have to be alert all the time kasi
How come I don't believe you when you say that? Kasi if you think it's okay to play in a smaller group, you should be conducting a band, but you're conducting an orchestra. So
No, it's fun. It's a different experience,
Okay.
Yeah, the smaller the group, the more challenging kasi there's more, of course,
Yes.
there's more responsibilities. Less people are playing, diba?
Yes.
So you have to play more. And then, yung connection
Yeah.
within, yung connection within. Orchestra is the same. There's no difference, just a bigger group. That's why I always tell my members, because sometimes you're conducting, let's say, the French horn or trumpets are rest, and then strings are playing, and then they will pick up the melody, and they're
Right.
late. And I always tell them, because you stop playing during the rest, you're not supposed to stop playing.
correct.
That's the key. That's the key. If every musician can learn that discipline when they're rest, they don't stop playing, they just don't make sound. And that's the key to a good chamber music, to a good ensemble.
Correct. Okay, we're gonna take a break, Kuya
Okay.
Bob, and then we'll be back after this short word from our sponsor.
All right.
And we are back. Kuya Bob, bago tayo dumiretso sa present time,
Yeah.
how long did you do the Manila Chamber Orchestra?
Manila Chamber Orchestra, we started that in 1986. So
Okay.
I was there until 1991 when I migrated to the US.
So 86 to 91.
Yeah. So what I did, hindi muna ako nag-resign. Kasi I don't know what's going to happen with me here sa US. but I have to try because my father, I have to meet with my long lost father, and he got sick. So kaya my mission going to America is big, and that is something that I cannot say no. I have
family
to go,
first.
Yes,
course,
family.
diba?
I have to go to America, and I have to try here. But I did not resign, and Professor Esmilia allowed me. I told, sir, if I can just try maybe 6 months, because I don't know what's going to happen, but I have to go to the States.
So you met up with your dad.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, that was a very good reunion. That was an awesome.
Can you tell us?
It made my life complete. Kasi
Closure ba?
yeah. Yung my dad and my mom, so they got separated not by choice. During those time, discrimination, up now there's discrimination.
Yeah.
And well, interracial marriage were not very encouraged, especially in the military.
Yeah.
My dad even talked to his chaplain in the Navy, and he was not even encouraged to do so.
Kumbaga parang leave, di ba?
Yeah.
Leave them.
And my grandfather came to the States prior, and I have an uncle who worked here in the States during that time. And they told my mom was very young. He told my mom, just stay there. You'll be good. Meron kang trabaho. You have your family here in the Philippines. You have your child. Don't worry about it, because we don't want you going to the States and you will get
discriminated,
maltreated.
Right.
Your husband, Jerry's the name of my dad. He's a very good man, but it's the outside world.
Yeah.
And my mom got so scared, but she's got a good job in the Bay, so she decided to stay.
So your dad left you guys. Nagbabay naman.
Yeah, pero he came a mga couple of times back. Pero yung pagkatapos na nung service na, so nawala na hanggang sa...
nagsara yung base, di ba?
Tapos father ko bata pa rin noon, alam mo. And things like that happen. Kaya parang nawala na rin ng connection.
Right.
Not until, I was 30 years old.
But how were you growing up without a dad? How did you feel? Was it incomplete? I mean, your grandfather was there, but then again,
it's always incomplete, of course.
Yeah.
But since I have a really good support from family of my mother, and my uncles, they're like my father.
Yeah.
They're like my father. They always take care of me. They always give me advice.
Right.
Those kind of things. Even sa
So
panliligaw.
So how old were you when your dad left?
Siguro I was mga 5.
Oh my God.
Very young, yeah.
And then you saw each other when you were 30.
I was 31, yeah.
Married na.
Oh, yeah. And then I have half siblings here, nasa Ohio.
So wait, how was that? Oh, my God.
So ganito yung then I have a relative who works for the government here in the United States.
Okay.
And then and then they went to the Philippines. We were talking over dinner, and he asked me, "Hey, I know you're successful here. You have a job, and but don't you want to at least try to find your father? Maybe he's still alive." Right?
Oh, no connection na pala.
Oo, nawala talaga. And sabi ko, yeah, why not? What do you have? So all I have is all his signatures and my birth certificate and all that, but I don't have his social security number and all that. But my uncle told me that, okay, let me write a letter to your father. Just write a letter. Send me your picture, whatever picture you have, a picture in the symphony orchestra, and then put it in an envelope, and I will send it to a friend in the United States from San Diego who at that time used to work for a congressman.
Okay.
And then he sent a letter. And then the name of the guy is Bob Medina. And he said, Brother Bob, please, this is my nephew. Please help him. He wants to look for his father. He was an ex-military, blah, 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 during these years, during this time. So, and then, because they have access to the record.
Of course.
Right. So, then, there you go. The letter came out, and then fun continues. I'm playing music.
Kumbaga, you just threw it out to the wind.
Just threw it out. Okay, that's an option.
Okay.
Let's go for it, right?
And then, okay, back to life.
Back to life. And then, so I used to live in Malate at that time. So we have a maid,
nice
si
spot.
Manang. Yeah. And then I was so with the Manila Chamber Orchestra, right? Remember those days we have a beeper, pocket bell?
Yeah.
So after 7 months, the maid, si Manang, messaged me, says, Kuya, Daddy called. The message. Daddy called. And I totally forgot what Daddy called. So I called her back. Said, Manang, was Daddy called? And she said, this is in Tagalog. Sabi niya, Kuya, may tumawag dito. Parang Amerikano, tatay mo raw siya. Parang, somebody called. He sounded like an American. He said, he's your father.
Oh.
And I said, what happened? He gave me his number, but I would like to make sure that she really got the numbers correctly, right? So, okay, I came home right away, and then
What were you doing?
We were at the rehearsal.
So you had to...
Yeah, no, I have to wait until the rehearsal.
Okay.
over.
Pero ibang excitement.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, man, I was out of concentration, right? So I went home and then I dialed the phone. And during those days, we don't have like Viber and all that. So it's an overseas call, right?
Mahal yun.
And you pay by the minute, by the second.
Yes.
And then I called back, and he said, "Oh," and we called. Is this Mr. Shroder? And then my dad says, "Bobby." He called me Bobby. Yeah.
Ever
Bobby,
since you were...
because a young Robert is
Naiiyak ako!
a young Robert is Bobby, right?
Yes.
So he called me, "Bobby, how are you?"
How'd you feel when he said those words?
I don't know. I don't know what I said, but I just said, and well, it's good to, touch base again. And how are you? And I said, "I'm okay." And he said, "What do you want? What do you need from me?" And he said that, just tell me, what do you want? What do you need from me? And I told him, "I would like to see you. I would like to go there." And he said, "What do you need?" Well, I told him that, I went to the U.S. Embassy, and the U.S. Embassy need your military records to their proof that when I was conceived, you were here. Dates, time and dates, right? So the following day, I received a FedEx, like overnight FedEx with all the documents. Because the U.S. Embassy won't give me my U.S. passport because they need proof, right? And at that time I was already issued the Philippine passport, so diba? Pinoy na, diba? And then so I got the paperwork. So I went to the embassy. Okay, this is what you requested, and this military record of my father. Here are some pictures, signature, and he even sent the birth certificates of my siblings, my half siblings. So here's the document. And then the embassy told me, "Okay, Mr. Shroder, just fill out these forms. If you can go out and have a picture taken because we need the picture taken." So I submitted the picture, and they said, "Okay, go to lunch and come back around in an hour and a half." Okay, so I went to lunch, and then when I returned back, so you get a number, right? And then they call you, "Ms. Shroder, here's your receipt. Pay $40. The cashier, so I pay $40. And then when they return, they give you my passport and all the original documents.
Naiiyak ako.
Yeah. So that was the beginning.
Are you the eldest on both sides? Are you the eldest son on
Yes,
both sides?
yes, yeah.
Your mom remarried ba? Or
No, hindi na. I'm the only child with my mom.
And then you're the eldest child of your dad?
Yes. And I have three younger half siblings.
Okay, so when you saw your passport, then you were like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be real."
Yeah, and then what am I going to do now? And the embassy advised me, "Well, if you plan to stay in the Philippines longer..."
In 1 year.
Yeah, no, they said I have to leave in 3 months, something like that.
Naiiyak ako.
If you need to stay in the Philippines longer, you need to go to Philippine Immigration and get an ACR, an Alien Certificate of Registration.
So ngayon, from being Pinoy, ngayon alien ka na.
And this happened just entering and exiting the U.S. Embassy.
Yes.
Same day.
Entered as a Filipino,
Yeah.
left as an American.
Yes.
Okay.
So I went to Intramuros right away because it's not too far from the embassy, and then got my ACR and ICR while still fresh and all that. So because I don't know yet when am I going to leave at that time. So anyway, so then I got my ACR, ICR, and then when I returned to the symphony, so that's what I told Professor Smith. That's what I told everybody. So guys, I'm sorry if I was not, focusing yesterday or the other day. This is what's happening. So anyway, everybody was so happy.
Oh.
And then that's the start of our communication with my father. So I called him every once in a while. I spent a lot of money with that, but I don't care, right?
How did it feel talking to Dad?
That made my life complete.
All of a sudden, yung confidence na akala mo nandun, nadagdagan talaga.
Yes, this is it, diba? This is wow, diba? Then as the date gets closer that I'm flying to the US already, so the excitement, really it's pumping. And then I started sending them my stepmother over there. I started sending them like placemats, yung mga Filipino.
Yes.
It's anything that originally Filipino. Yeah. And then I sent my father Barong Tagalog, mga ganon. So anything that I can send. Alam mo na, our culture is
Yeah.
hospitality. Di ba?
Yes.
And then here comes the date. Oh, I'm supposed to leave. I'm supposed to leave Manila July 8, 1991. So mga May. So prepared na ako. May.
What was your wife saying? What was your wife telling you when this was happening?
She's not sure if she's going to believe it or not. Yeah. In fact, they did not come to me. They did not come with me right away because they don't know. Yeah. When I told them,
You had kids at the time also.
Two kids.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I asked him, I'm going to the States. You want to come over? Because, this is a new life, right? No, they stayed. They stayed because they don't know. So anyways, mga bandang May. So I'm ready. I'm getting ready to fly. And
Flight was July, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm already, we got a trainee for the orchestra to replace me for the time being.
Uh-huh.
And then May, I got a call from Joey Albert.
Oh.
Bob, I'm celebrating my 10th year anniversary at the Manila Hotel on July 10th. Can you be the musical director? I said, Joey, I'm flying on the 8th. Where are you going? I'm going to the States. Are you crazy? What are you going there? I mean, you have a good job here. You're happy here. Joey, I have to meet my father. You need to go.
Yes, you need
Joey said, but you need to do my concert first. So I delayed my concert for another 2 days.
Delayed your flight.
My flight,
Yes.
though. I delayed the flight, though, because I did Joey's concert. So we did that in Manila Hotel. It was so much fun. And then 2 days after, then I flew to the U.S.
So when you got to Ohio, anong pakiramdam nun?
So Ohio, they live in, it's called Arcanum, Ohio. It's a small town in Ohio, close, about 40 miles north of Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
That's the biggest city then, closer. Kaya Columbus, Ohio. So when I arrived, during those days, people can still go by the tube, right?
Yeah.
Once you get out the tube, nandun na yung
Yes.
family or whoever, your friends. So I saw my youngest sister and my dad. Yeah. And my dad was wearing the Barong Tagalog that I sent him and wearing short pants.
Akala ko yung barong at maong iba na may barong at short pants.
Short pants. So then and I heard my younger sister says, that's him. That's it. And then so we hugged. It was total silence for 2 seconds. It was silence, yeah. And then so we hugged, the three of us hugged, and and then we drove to town. They live in a small town. It's a farm town. People very nice. They don't lock their cars there.
He introduced you to everybody?
I got introduced to
Proudly?
the community. Yeah. So every day, during those days, he was already retired, and he manages the golf course. So we'll go every morning after breakfast. We'll go to the golf course, and he will play sometimes. And he taught me how to play golf. I said, I'm only good with music. I'm not good with those kind of things. And he said, there's a lot of oops. Because I missed the ball always.
Oh.
So anyways, every day we will go to one of his friends and introduce me. Did I tell you before that I have a son in the Philippines? And I don't remember, but he's here now. I said so those kind of things. But people are very nice. They're very nice. Parang probinsyano sila.
Yes.
Their culture, their character is totally different from
From the city.
big city. Yeah. We are all in the rush here.
Don't laid back.
Laid back,
Yes.
and they're farmers. There's one bar in town, so everybody goes there, including children. After work, you play pool, you drink.
Right, family affair. In other words,
There's jukebox.
Yes.
and women, they dance with you. That's their culture. They dance, and
so it was fun. It was.
yeah.
And then
they'll invite you to drink. They'll invite you to eat, and so I stayed there for 1 month.
Okay.
Yeah. But he wanted me to stay. He said, well, there's Dayton Symphony Orchestra. But I said, Dad, Symphony Orchestra, there's only 3 flutists. It's either one will die or I kill him. Right? It's not that easy. If I'm a violinist, it will be very easy too.
Right.
Easier, But I said, I would like to visit my relatives in California. But I really wanted to go to California because this is where, the
the
entertainment
action, yeah.
industry, and we know that. Because over there, it's very nice. Like now, if I would like to retire there, that's a good option to retire. It's
Right.
very quiet, very cheap,
Right.
But there's nothing, yeah. farm, and you eat fresh food, you eat organic stuff.
Kumbaga, you wake up, you do your thing, you go to sleep. You know?
Yeah. We go to the backyard and pick up corn.
Yeah.
So those kind of things. But anyway, so I went to California and then started my life in California. And then I will just visit him every year, every now and then. You know. Thanksgiving, yeah. I don't usually go there during winter because of the harsh winter.
Yeah.
And
My God.
East Coast. But I usually visit Thanksgiving and summertime. Yeah, summer is fun. So until, the 7 years, but and then he passed away after 7 years. But that was the best 7 years of my complete life, right? Yeah. And it's a very inspiring story, especially those. Now I'm a member of. There's a group in Facebook like Children of American Children.
Americans,
yeah. And I try to help them because I know how it feels like, and it's really a big deal in life to be able to meet. If I only can talk to those fathers who left their child, and it's not, Filipinos are not, we're not, they will not go after your money and all that. We just want to be with you, want to see you.
Yung just validation.
Yeah. And when I arrived there, my father asked me, what's your expectations? I said, nothing. I just want to see you. I came here like free and open. It's like I don't have expectation. I'm open to start a new career. I'm open to start, if I would be
no pressure.
No pressure, right?
Let's just hang out.
Yeah. So, and because just have an open mind. And I always tell that also to young musicians who migrate here in the United States, have an open mind. You already know music. Maybe find other interests.
Right.
Because there's a lot. This is the land of opportunity. You can go back to school. You can learn new things. And,
Amen.
Just name it what other interests you have. Just sort it out. It out. Put music on the side. Sort out what are my other interests.
Because you know what? Your passion will always find you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have to start over. I have to work. I have a friend, si Tonyo Rodriguez, bass player.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was here. He was in San Diego. So I asked him, Tonyo, what do you do here? Well, I play in the orchestra, but the orchestra just got disbanded. Now I'm working as a courier with this Korean cellist. If you want, you can join us. So I joined them. I work as a courier. We deliver, I used to deliver medicine to Kaiser. I did that for 2 months.
Wow.
And then I pick up the van, bringing stuff to LA and then back to San Diego. On the way to LA, the height of the traffic, I would see like musicians. I was driving like a step van, a high van. So I would see like musicians like wearing tuxedo with their violin on the side. Oh man, I was like in tears. That was my job, right? And then after 2 months, I stopped. I cannot do this anymore. I have to find something else. And then, so my aunt asked me if I know debit and credit because they're hiring. I can work as a temp in her company,
right?
I said, of course. I went to business, school, and then so that's how I started my non-musical career. I work as payroll administrator, and then they were after a few months they were computerizing their system. So they were computerizing their system, and then I was very instrumental in feeding information. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. And then the programmer, the developers will do it. And then I'm like, you know what? He told me, you are like the designer because you tell me the design. You tell me what will show on the screen. And then later on, after the implementation, they need somebody who will, of course, a functional support for that system.
Kasi aalis na sila, di ba? Developers sila.
Yeah. And this was before Oracle. The system was called PeopleSoft, and it's still,
PeopleSoft.
Yeah, but I still a practitioner of PeopleSoft.
Okay.
Today. So and then I learned PeopleSoft. I volunteer. I'm interested. I would like to learn more about it. So they sent me to school. They sent me to St. Louis, Missouri, to study. Some programming and how the system work, running query SQL and all this kind of stuff. So, and it becomes more interesting because when you design the system, the program for my support is human resources and payroll. It's like arranging music. You can use your creative mind to make things move. To make, design the page where the users will.
And now you're looking at the big picture.
Yeah.
Diba?
So I've been doing it for like 28 years now.
Up to now?
Yeah, side by side, music and that. And that's paying my retirement. That's paying my paid vacation and all that kind of stuff. That's why when I do music, there's no stress because
Can you imagine? I mean, from the first minute we recorded this podcast up to now, talagang nilatag na yung daan para sa inyo eh.
Exactly. And I believe that. Kaya, encourage. I am not a religious person, but I consider myself spiritual.
Spiritual, yeah.
I always talk to him and I always pray, and that really matters a lot.
Yes.
And that, he will always find the way
yes.
for you. There's some blockage sometimes, there's some rough road sometimes, but there's always a path that will clear the way.
Galing.
Yeah.
So, how did we get from? I mean, now that you were grounded with the PeopleSoft, when did you say it's time to go back to music?
I did not really stop, but I stopped playing as a professional musician.
So it took a back seat, kinda. Yeah.
So even I was working already as a non-musician, I still play. My bass is always. Every Sunday I play at church.
Okay.
I joined the church group. So I played the flute with the choir.
Right.
I was volunteer. And one time in San Diego, I was playing. There's tall guy.
Oh, you were based in San Diego?
I was based in San Diego. This tall guy, his name is Gary Pack.
Mm-hmm.
And we became very good friends. He's a very good trumpet player. He's one of the best trumpet players in San Diego during that time. So Gary, after the mass, Gary approached me. And he told me, you sounded like you're a professional musician. And I told him, yes, I am. So what do you do? Do you play around? And then I told him, well, I'm new here in town. And, I haven't met, actually, I met a few musicians, but not a lot of them are professional musicians. And Gary told me, would you be interested to join me on next Sunday? Because there's like a gathering at the Musicians Union in San Diego. I said, okay, I'll join you. So that's when I started meeting professional musicians at the unions, and they will audition you. And here, I notice here they don't assume that you read notes or something.
Yes.
And they will ask you, do you read charts? Do you read notes?
Yes.
Do you do this, and that? Yeah. I said, yeah. Because of Philippines, they don't ask that, right? So anyway, so that was the start of my music in the mainstream. So I start getting gigs, mga small gigs, quartet, trio. And then every once in a while, I will play with the San Diego Pacos Orchestra.
So you were plugging yourself in sa mga ganong klaseng events.
Yeah.
Not the wedding stuff, not the
mga iba-ibang venue ng sa mainstream.
Yes, mainstream na talaga.
Tapos yung Chula Vista Pops Orchestra, there was the Chula Vista Pops Orchestra. I played with them also for about 2 seasons. And then I started having my own regular group, and then we played together more regularly. Ano mga events. So that was my job on weekends sa San Diego.
Right.
And then weekdays, sometimes if there's a gig on weekday, you call in sick, right? You call in sick, you get paid for
sick
for
day.
work, and then you still do the gig. Yeah. So that was the first decade of my life here in the States. Yeah. And then
now, did you unplug yourself from the Filipino community? Or were you plugged into the Filipino community when this was during your first decade in the States?
No, I'm always in touch.
With the Filipino community.
Yeah, I'm always in touch.
Like Pusong Pinoy was inside. I mean,
yeah.
Because guys, if you're watching the YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, you better watch the YouTube video so that you can see how Kuya Bob looks like, no?
So I'm always in touch with friends and colleagues. Okay. And then, before there wasn't email yet, diba? You write letters, you send cards, mga ganon. And then sometimes during those days, you buy a phone card and you call them every once in a while.
Yes.
So, and then some musicians, they will, sometimes they will take a job or a cruise ship. And when they stop by in San Diego, I'll pick them up and we go out. And
okay.
Yeah, yung mga former colleagues sa Symphony Orchestra, mga violinista, they have string groups. So mga ganon. So there's always interaction. There's always, I stayed connected.
Yes.
There was no detached. I was always connected. Then until, first time I went on vacation, I visited UP, I visited friends, and then here comes more electronic driven communication. We have emails time, mga ganon, di ba? So it gets better and better hanggang sa now it's like you can talk to them parang, di ba? So it's live, di ba? Ganon.
Yeah.
So that was my and then after almost 10 years and then I moved to LA. Yeah.
Pero before we talk about your LA, let's break for another commercial and then we'll talk about your LA chapter.
Okay, good.
We'll be back. So finally, Kuya Bob, from San Diego, you packed up and then LA na.
Yes.
What made you move to LA?
I got a job offer in LA as a systems analyst.
So talaga, okay.
Yeah, not musician, but to me, well, this is a good move because LA Hollywood is here, right?
Yeah.
So, and then so I took the job, so I moved here, and then continue my systems analyst job here in LA, and then also I did the same thing. I always I play music the local church,
Right.
and then that's where I will meet somebody. And I used to live in Glendale that time.
Oh, okay.
And then one time, the musical director of the choir asked me, Bob, do you know anybody, or maybe you yourself have a background with the youth orchestra? I said, yeah, I was with the youth orchestra in the Philippines. You think you can handle something like that? I said, sure. So what's the give me more details about it? And he said, because the entertainment foundation of Hollywood is giving in some money to support the children in the depressed area in Boyle Heights community. So this is mostly Latinos.
Oh.
Yeah. I said, yeah, I would like to get more details, and I'm interested. Right, let's talk more about it. And then the president of the board at that time was Mr. Robert Korsinski.
Uh-huh.
Very nice guy. Yeah, he's organist, church organist, Presbyterian church organist. So we talk, and then we exchange, experience as a musician, how I handle kids, how my experience back in the Philippines. It's very easy because in the Philippines,
When you say kids, how old were these kids?
these are like grade school and high school kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, start them
Yeah,
young.
youth orchestra. So it's easy because in the Philippines, that's the reality in the Philippines.
Right.
We have the children coming from the provinces, learning music, coming from
Yeah. Go ahead.
coming from a common. Some are really poor families, but they're very talented. So that's how you handle it. And so I got the job. They offered me the job. So my first
You would do this weekends or?
weekdays after work,
Weekdays?
weeknights.
Wow.
Kasi the kids goes to school. So
Right.
ang rehearsal nila is after work din, after school. So I did that in Boyle Heights. They have a building there. It's called the Neighborhood Music School in Boyle Heights. So my first musical experience here in LA was to help the Latino community. Not yet
Not the Filipino community. Yeah.
It was the Latino community who adopted me, and I did that for 7 years. So training kids, and I admired those Latinos because the Mexicans, their culture is very much like Filipinos. The
Right.
parents are very supportive.
Right.
When we have rehearsals, the parents bring food, and they're culturally very similar. And,
Very, very hospitable.
and family is so tight.
Yes.
So tight. So I enjoyed it, and I met a lot of friends in the community. So I did that every year. Different kids, some new kids will come. Some will graduate high school and they be gone, and some even graduating high school. I even recommend if you want to join the military band, you can be a musician in the military band. We have a couple at that time. We have a couple of students who joined the U.S. Army band. So 7 years. It's fun. It's challenging, and everybody's welcome because that's the goal. We cannot say no. If a child is talented, we have to provide something for them to learn.
to grow, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes different instruments, saxophone, and not even with the orchestra. So I made some arrangement. I transcribed some of, let's say, the bassoon part for the saxophone, so they can play those kind of
Right.
things. So I did that for 7 years.
So you mentioned transcriptions. So while you were doing being a systems analyst, you were still writing music.
Yeah, yeah. I do.
Wow.
I do music on the side. It's nonstop.
Paper or finale?
Well, during those days, paper.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
paper. And then after a couple of years, that's when the finale came out.
Uh-huh.
But when you first use Finale, it's faster to write it on paper, right? So I can use paper.
Yes.
Yeah, so those kind of experience, because different instruments, and I teach them how to transpose by sight. By sight. Like if you're a flute, you read an alto saxophone piece, you just read it like bass clef, and then transpose like those kind of things. So because I would like the kids to learn to be more very flexible musicians.
Right.
Because I always tell them, you'll never know what you're going to get out there. You have to be prepared for that phone call of your lifetime. You cannot say that, oh, this is the only thing I know. This is the only thing I want to know.
You have to be prepared when that phone rings.
Because you will never know.
Yeah.
And sometimes that phone call is not your comfort zone. And you have to adjust quickly. Yes, I'll do that. I can learn how to do that.
See, come to think of it, no? You had the bus ride of a lifetime and a phone call of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Bus ride of a lifetime took you to your music.
Yes.
Phone call of a lifetime took you to the States.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my musical contact, especially here, I've been in the United States for 30 years now. It's always coming from the church.
Wow.
Somebody will approach me. Somebody will from the church, always.
So how did you get connected naman with FASO?
FASO is always forming a Filipino performing group. It's always a dream for me, myself, and a few other colleagues from the Philippines who came here from the symphony orchestra. But, we don't know how, forming a group costs money, right? And forming an orchestra, it's not like you have a 4-piece band that you play in a club.
Correct.
Where you're talking about our regular members now is like 65. So we have 65 members. So in 2008, that's when it got materialized. So we were talking, and then I believe it started when Lea Salonga had a concert at the Walt Disney Concert Hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then one of my friends, Lito Cruz, was there. And then he was with a couple more friends. One is Andy Texon, and the other one is Roger Oriel, the owner of Asian Journal.
Yes.
So, and he asked, why is it like Lea Salonga's orchestra is non-Filipino? Don't we have Filipino musicians here? Don't we have Filipino orchestra here? So Lito triggered that question, and Tito Andy plays the violin
up to now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was in Las Vegas. There's a People's Convention in Las Vegas that time. So I got a phone call from another friend, another colleague, si Bochok Molina, and said, Bob, somebody called me. They would like to talk about forming a symphony orchestra in LA, and they said they will help financially to begin with. And I said, is that true? Totoo ba yan? Kasi daming drawing. Diba?
Yes.
Daming drawing. And then he told me, well, they sound like they're serious about it.
Yeah.
So, parang seryoso. Sabi ko, okay, then I'll be back home like Sunday yata. So let's schedule a meeting during the week, next week, di ba? Then we'll talk to them. So yun. And then, so we talk, and then I give them some options. This is how it is. If you want it to be like Philippine, like LA feel, where you pay the musicians monthly, whether they're concert or no concert, it's a season. That's their full-time job. Costs more, but that's ideal. If you want a community orchestra that we welcome everybody, we don't control it. That everybody can play, all are welcome. We can do that. But I am
quality.
Quality, I cannot answer for that.
Yes.
And the third is we'll do it like a community orchestra somewhat. We pay them every session, every concert, but we will filter the membership. We will audition the members.
Hybrid.
Hybrid. So that's what we did. So first rehearsal, there's only 9 of us. And, some people are sarcastic. You form Filipino American. How many members do you have now? 9. Okay, keep telling yourselves orchestra, right? Some people are like that. But anyways, so with the word of mouth, and we sent flyers, universities, CSUN, UCLA, USC, and some Pasadena's community college. And we were able, it's amazing. There's a lot of Filipinos or half Filipinos or some even non-Filipinos who are interested to participate.
Right.
Or music majors. So at the first concert, we were able to put together 60 musicians.
Wow.
Yeah, 98% Filipino. Yeah. So that was the inaugural concert. So
inaugural concert was December.
No, our inaugural was May 17, 2009.
2009.
But the first rehearsal was November 7, 2008.
You did do a concert also in November ba or December?
December after that. Christmas
Pasadena.
concert. Yes. After the inaugural concert in May, the next concert will be the Pasadena Civic, yung Christmas
I was
concert.
invited to watch that concert, but I was on my way home to the Philippines.
That's when we had Charisse Pempenko was one of our guests that time. Yeah. So anyway, so that's and then we started it. We rehearsed, and you know how it is, the beginning, and you have to really have the good core, and it takes time to be able to put that core together, the same thinking, the same vibes, and even some music
Kailangan may rapport.
Yes. So it takes time. But we worked hard. We practice every week. Practice. You know, it's all about practice. And after you practice, what you're going to do? Practice, right?
So from being part of a section, to now being the conductor, how was that? Alam ko hindi abrupt yung transition
Yeah.
But how was it na, oh my God, I'm the guy with the baton. Baton ba tawag doon?
Baton, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was not really new to me because I was a radio conductor even back in the Philippines. Yeah.
You would do that also?
Yeah. I've been doing that, and, you know, smaller scale, bigger scale. Sometimes they're theatrical, musical, you know, mga musicals. So I've been doing that even back then. Yeah. And then again, going back to the chamber music experience, that really helped a lot.
How is your patience?
That's another thing. Leadership and patience, really. And especially with our orchestra, some professional orchestras, it's easier for the conductor because it's a given. They're all professional. They're all the same level, right?
Yes.
Once you keep your baton, you just finishing touches and all that.
Pag community,
you deal with our youngest member is like 14 years old, and the oldest is 75 years old.
Right.
And this is from professional musicians, from students.
Si Tito Andy ba yung oldest member? Hindi na.
Meron pang mas matanda sa
Tito Andy, if you're watching.
From students, from semi-professional, from retired musicians, and full-time musicians. So different levels. The challenge is when you deal with them, you want to make sure that everybody's engaged.
Right.
Because you don't want the professionals to get bored because you deal a lot with the non-professionals, right? So I have to think, that's the challenge for me. I have to think on ways how to deal with them, and because I want to keep that momentum that everybody's engaged.
At saka yung keep moving forward yung dating, hindi.
Yes. And then I want to make sure that when I talk to non-professional or when I talk to people or sections that need attention, the other group who are really more professional level, they can also learn from what I'm talking about from that point of view.
Yes.
So kasi di ba? Kaya yung everything is attached, everything is engaged. What I talk here does not apply to you. Maybe you cannot apply this today, but in what you do tomorrow or the other day, so you need to pick up what we talk about here.
So when you let's say you're arranging this concert, di ba? So may theme na kayo. Do you ask your musicians anong gusto niyo gawin, or you just present it to them na ito ang gagawin natin?
Yeah, I usually form a small committee. It's a creative committee. Usually the principal players of the musicians, concert master, and the principals of winds.
Yeah.
I will invite maybe 5 or 6, and then plus Louis Ramos. Louis Ramos is one of our in-house orchestrator, arranger. So Louis is part of my creative team. So we talk, and I put up a list, and I tell them, okay, this is what I have in mind. I want you to pitch in what you have in mind, and then we'll start from there. And it's always a problem, but it's a good problem because there's a lot of good selections.
So a process of elimination.
The trimming part of it.
Yes. Oh my God. Always a problem.
That's the challenge. But that's how it works. Yeah. And of course, we always play Filipino music.
Right.
It's always part of our repertoire to play Filipino music. So we start with standard symphonic music, maybe a classical overture or a Baroque solo instrument or something like that. And then towards the end, lighter selections, Filipino music. Yeah, then OPM, people like it. Yeah.
Tapos, so, what's his name again? Who gives you the Do you write the sections, or you have someone?
Oh, we have arrangers. We have 3 arrangers in house, and we also
You tell them what you want to hear and all
no
that?
whatever is the need. So whatever we talk about, okay, we would like to play this, but we don't have arrangements, and then we will arrange it. Sometimes we would like to play, and we have to rent the arrangement if it's available.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
When we play like John Williams, so
Oh, yeah.
those are for rent,
Yes.
and they're not cheap.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How much do they run?
It depends. You can rent from
Like, let's say Superman.
you can rent from like $120 to like $800. It depends on the orchestration.
Per section? Or per...
Per arrangement for the orchestra.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, in full arrangement.
Yes.
And you have to return that after. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's the good thing here, because it's controlled. You know, the publisher controls the royalties and all that, and everybody, you know, arrangers and all that get a piece of the royalty when
Yeah.
the piece was rented. You know.
So now, you're there, rehearsal. Meron kang musician na hindi nakakahabol. What goes through your head, and how do you deal with it?
I deal with them very professionally, and you know, hey guys, you know the parts that needs work, right? Work on that at home more, please.
Ganun muna. Yun ang
Ganun lang.
first.
Yeah.
Yun ang verbal.
Yeah. You know those parts that need cleanup, right? Okay, work on those at home.
And you're not honing in on someone's...
No,
Okay.
I'm talking in general. Yeah, you know those sections, you know those part in the piece that need more TLC. Work more on that from home, because next time I would like to hear it clean.
Okay, then they come back. Is
Yeah.
it normally clean, or may dungis pa rin sometimes?
Usually it will improve if it's not
Okay.
very clean, and then you know they did something.
Yes.
You know, that's yung responsibility.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
Yeah. Because and they understand, no, rehearsal time is very limited. So you really have to do your part. You really have to do your homework to be able for us to be
Right.
able to bring good music together. And you know, it's character, and you don't want to be embarrassed, you know,
Yeah.
with the other musicians.
What kind of scary experiences have you had during a concert as a conductor? Na alam mo, medyo lalaglag itong section na to, and how are you able to pick it up?
We never had that experience.
Galing naman.
Laging malinis, laging, you know, walang yung nakakatakot na lugar. No, it's always we make sure that na malinis lahat yung mga section. That's why we work hard on specific areas that need to be clean.
Right. How is rehearsal like? Like, how many times a week do you guys rehearse?
Once a week.
That's it?
Yeah. In every concert we will rehearse, probably specific for that concert, mga 4 to 5 times.
That's professional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the expectation. Kaya, di ba? If you want to join, this is what it is. This is what we do.
Galing, no?
And you know, it's not something that I don't care if you're the best, but this is a matter of how you work on your piece.
Work ethic talaga.
Work ethic talaga. Yeah. Kasi yung di ba, first flutist ako, first line, it doesn't matter. Your role doesn't matter. It's how you play your role. That
And
matters.
then being part of the whole, yung, my God, no? Talagang, pag narinig mo yung isang buong orchestra, kinikilabutan ako every time.
Mhm. Yeah.
How does it feel to be that person conducting?
Well,
Is there a certain sense of pride?
yeah, and especially, you know, when the sound that you're expecting is coming out, and when you ask for more and they give it, it's priceless, very fulfilling, you know.
Okay, Kuya Bob, let's talk about dynamics.
Yeah.
Because part of your role
Mhm.
is to control the
Yeah.
when you say sound, the dynamics of
Yeah.
each section, di
Mhm.
ba? How is that? Like, nai-imagine ko si Mickey Mouse sa anong Fantasia ba?
Yung water show. Yeah.
Di ba? How is it?
Actually, in conducting, the right hand is what you use to
your tempo.
cue the tempo, the beat, and wider beat means louder. Sometimes you don't see the baton, just very soft. The left hand's purpose is to cue for dynamics, more, less.
Oh my God.
Those
So
kind of
habang
things.
gumaganon itong
Yeah.
daliri kamay na to,
And then
parang ang hirap, parang gumaganon.
and then you look at the section. If they're going to come in a few, you look at them, make sure the attention is, so you can give the eye
Do they look at you
contact.
naman?
Yeah. You can give the eye contact, And the benefit being Pinoy is you have the lips. You can give the lips. You have the lips. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how it worked. Yeah, that's how it worked.
Now, from a drummer's perspective, hindi ko pa natatanong si Edgar at saka si Christian, but do you trust your drummer or do you cue your drummer?
No, I trust them and I do both because, they are drummers. You're the governors. You're
Exactly,
supposed to govern
diba?
the music,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But, sometimes
Kumbaga, kanang kamay mo yung drummer.
Exactly. So I give them the feel that I would like them to execute.
Okay.
And sometimes, tulad si Edgar, minsan sabi ko sa kanya, Edgar, masyadong malagkit.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't hold it back.
Right.
Just steady lang. Huwag masyadong, minsan, may
alam,
music na masarap yung malagkit di ba?
May laid back
So, may laid back. Pero sabi ko, huwag masyadong malagkit. Di ba? Yung steady lang. Basta steady lang na, pero not hindi tumatakbo. Mas steady. Yung mga ganon. You just give them the key for the feel, for the groove and all that. And then I leave it up to them.
And you know what? I think a perfect example, and I'll post the link in the description. Edgar posted here when you guys played Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So sabi ko, ba't ganito yung palo ni Edgar? Hindi malagkit na, di ba? Parang, tule, tak, tug, tak. Hindi gano'n eh. Yung kanya is talagang bay-bay lang dire-diretso. Tug, pak, tug, tug.
Yeah.
Pak, tug, pap. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
To give space
Yes.
to the other instruments.
Kasi playing in a bigger group, especially with choir,
right.
and playing with us, if you're like a 5-6 piece band, that'll be nice.
Talaga ilakitin mo talaga, di ba?
Diba?
Yeah. Mm.
Pero playing for the group, you have to be
Yes.
considerate. You have to be considerate to the remain because classically trained musicians.
Oh my God, this
hindi nila alam yung lagkit.
Yes.
Tayo lang na may exposure sa jazz, sa pop music.
Yes.
Classically trained musician, once the execution is in the classical style, and we have to have everybody execute in the classical style.
Oh, wow.
So that's the difference, right? Now, on the other way, on the contrary, when we play pop music,
kailangan.
I tell my classically trained musicians, hey guys, we need to syncopate like pop musicians.
Right. Dapat niramdam yung...
The syncopation needs to be in that groove.
And emphasized and exaggerated.
Because syncopation in classical is totally different from syncopation in pop music and jazz. So.
May napulot kayo, guys. Lahat tayo.
So those kind of things is, combined together because I have a strong foundation with chamber music. I have strong foundation with pop music, with jazz music and classical. So you have to combine everything. So you have to have that to be very flexible and communicate to your musicians. Even you have some musicians that coming from a different genre, the rhythm section and the classical group. You have to be able to talk to them and make it work on both ends.
So ang question ko, if like me, I'm a pop drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for giving me heads up. You can't just walk into an orchestra and play drums like a pop drummer pala.
Yeah.
No, you cannot.
You have to use your ears. You have to use your your reflexes needs to be. You need to play your reflexes extra careful because different things will be happening.
Like the loudness of the snare can affect the the violin, the flute, and all that stuff.
And you will not be mic'd in, right?
Right.
It's acoustic.
Oh, wow.
So it's the acoustical balance is very important.
Wow.
That's why sometimes we just put a divider, a shield for the drums, it's getting too loud. But it's all about because everybody has its own sound.
Yes.
Winds.
Yes.
We don't use microphone. We just use microphone. You see microphones for recording.
Yung condensers na nakasabit.
For recording, yeah. But really what you hear is what you get.
Wow.
Hindi yung pag gusto ng mix na hihinaan ko tong part dito.
That's your job, Kuya Bob.
Exactly.
Ikaw ang engineer.
Yes, exactly.
Ikaw ang pumipihit
That's
using...
how it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Kapag sumenyas ka sa string section ng whisper, talagang pag tinugtog lang mahina. Sarap. Isipin mo, think about this. 24 violinists playing a very soft. Para ka nakatumutungtong sa carpet. Yeah? You're like in the clouds.
And we're back. Of course, we have the musical director and conductor of FASO. Is it Filipino or Filipino? No? Filipino American Symphony Orchestra.
Yes.
Yun. So, ang question ko kanina was, how would you encourage a young child to be exposed to pop music first or to orchestral music first? Or what would the route be? There are parents listening and I'm pretty sure may mga protege silang mga anak na.
Yeah, it really depends on the available exposure for the child, right? In my case, I was first trained classically.
Yes.
And then later time, the pop music, the jazz music. But all day, all night at home, we listened to both classical, pop music, jazz music, and standards. Yeah, so that was my exposure. So a lot of songs, a lot of standard songs, I don't know the title, but when I hear,
oh wow,
I know that. I've been listening to this since childhood. Things like that. But really is for parents, for children, it is really important to get their children, if they are interested in music, to engage in a well classically trained instructor in rudiments of music, because that's the basic, that's a good foundation for the child.
Right.
And then later on, because if you play classical and then you're flexible enough to play pop or jazz, that comes easier. But very important is the classical background, because that's where you're going to learn to be a good reader, sight reader.
Yes,
and all
that's
that.
true.
Ear training is very important also. And then another important thing is, I experienced this before when I used to teach children. Parents, don't force your children to learn music. Not all children really have their interest. Or sometimes they will have their interest at a later time, like me. I would like to learn, but I don't want to learn how to read music. To me, it was boring back then. But
eventually,
when I changed my paradigm and said, I'll be serious now, right? Because my friends, they're all advanced and I was left behind. So things like that. The worst thing is to force a child to learn something. Have respect to your children. Because if they're interested, you don't have to ask them. They will ask you for them to learn. You don't have to force them.
Do your kids play music?
They're not, but my younger son, si Andrew, si Tim is he's very appreciative of music. He loves music
appreciation.
But he's
a listener and lover of music.
He will sing every once in a while. Yes. And I always tell people, you have to hear Tim sing, and it's a joke. And then, but my youngest son, he will sing, and he loves to sing. Yeah. But none of them went to formal education because.
And you never force them, tulad nga ng sinabi mo na.
And maybe because they see, and part of it they see, it's because the discipline.
Yes.
It's hours you practice, you prepare. People see the outcome on stage. They don't see the time that we spent practicing. That's why we were able to deliver good music. But it's really the work behind the scene that makes it a good performance.
Galing, no?
Yeah.
Kuya Bob, why do you think, if you're not an A-lister musician, why do you think yung mga ibang musicians, not only in the States but around the world, bakit tayo naaabuso? Is it because a musician is a very generous person?
Maybe that's one reason.
Kasi hindi tayo swapang sa talent natin.
Exactly. And some they just love to play and they will play.
Right?
Yeah. But we need to understand also, like especially the patrons. And there are some musicians, I call them, there's two kinds. There's people who love music.
Yeah.
And there are musicians who are music lovers.
Yes.
Okay? I love music, but I'm not a music lover. When I see people like playing for free all night, accompanying karaoke sessions and all that, I call that music lover. Have some respect to yourself.
Yes.
That's why people don't respect you, because you don't respect your profession.
Yes.
Right? So it all comes to us. It's the character, it's how we, present ourselves to people. And people sometimes will hire you. You haven't even tell them the rate. They were already asking for a discount.
Oh.
Right? They have no idea that old car parked in the orchestra rehearsal hall, if you open the trunk, there's a 200,000 violin in that trunk.
That's true.
And that person went to school, went to college.
May student loan pa yan.
And invested in that expensive instrument, and then you will ask for bargain for good music. So that's why it became the habit of being like that.
Is it our fault as musicians, or is it our patrons' fault that they don't value us?
No, it's
Catch-22, no?
It's really nobody's fault, but it's the rating of musicians. Because musicians, there are street musicians,
Yes,
and there are class A musicians, and there's a lot of in between,
right.
And then some people look down on those street musicians, but in Europe, they're not. Street musicians are, they're students from known conservatory of music. They do that because that's their culture. When they need money, students play on the street and they get some money for their food or
Busking, yeah.
when they're during their student life. And but in the Philippines, we call that pulube,
Right.
beggars, right? Begging for money, musicians begging. That's why it's called starving musician. I never starved. I never starved. So don't call us starving musicians. I don't see I don't see any of my members starving. They all eat 3 squares a day, maybe more. So there's a lot of stereotypes. So people, if you like music, if you enjoy music, please do your homework too, because music does not happen instantly. We work hard to be able to deliver good music.
Ganda.
There's a lot of people that are naturally talented. They say that, there's a few people naturally talented. They didn't even go to school, but they're very talented. But a lot of musicians, a lot of us, we went to school, we studied, we invested in our instruments, and we work hard. And for the patrons, and that's one good thing with FASO here in LA. I think we were able to uplift the level of patrons.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. We opened, it was like an eye-opener.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we bring in our Filipino culture, music that they haven't heard from long time before.
And then dumadami na rin yung audience ng FASO.
Yes, we have our own following na.
Yes.
And then yung following generation, yun ang tinatap namin. Kaya kasi we need to invite the younger generation also to be part of it. So, Pero that's the key, Don't blame the industry, don't blame the artist. And it's just unfortunate. Some of musicians, have more and have less. But as far as talent is concerned, we're all the same. We always do our best to be able to perform, regardless if you're a Class D musician or Class A musician. When we perform, we do it all by heart. So have some heart to support the artist.
Amen.
Ganun lang simple yan.
Tapos, before we wrap this up, what is your vision for your legacy? Because you've really contributed a lot in the Filipino American community with regard to this. But how do you envision this? And pag nag-retire ka, who, no pun intended, who do you pass the baton to?
I'm thinking about that now, really. The last year, I started thinking about that. And with the support and help of our supporters, really my goal is, and to everybody who's listening, and I always tell our audience, please pass the word. Please let other people that we exist.
Yes.
Because we want this orchestra to be around for a long period of time. We want us to be able to celebrate also the 90th anniversary of FASO, the centennial of FASO, right?
Ganda,
And it's not going to happen if it's not because of our supporters.
Yeah.
So talk to your children, talk to your children's children. Make sure, just introduce that we exist. Invite them to our concert. And that's the goal. Because that's only going to happen with our supporters, yung suporta ng Pinoy. And Filipinos are very supportive.
And Filipinos are music lovers.
Yes, and we really appreciate that. We got the concert last year, the Walt Disney Concert Hall. It's a pack. Yeah.
Wow.
And then, I will not be here forever. All of us will not be here forever. And I started last year. I talked to the board. It's the time that I really will look an eye to maybe some potential young musicians that I can pass the baton in the near future.
That's a scary job. That's a big responsibility, by the way.
And the thing is, their initial reaction is, who, how, right? You're the only, no, I'm not the only one who can do this. There's got to be someone out there, either in the garage or in the province, who will have the talent and the heart to do this. Because it's not only music. The music is a big part of it. And if the qualification is only music, there's a lot of qualified musicians out there, even more qualified than I am. But the more challenging part is the cultural part of it.
Yung drive to move it forward.
Yeah. And to keep the Pinoy heart in it. That's the more challenging. But I'll find one. Yeah.
And you know what? For the record, no, the musicians rehearse 5 times before a show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not you. Because al trabaho mo is, in between those rehearsals, you do more things as well, right?
Yeah.
You and your team.
Yeah. And I practice my score too. My
Of
conductor
course.
score. Yeah.
You have to know what you're conducting, di ba?
Yeah. I put my markings, I put my cueings and stuff. Yeah. If you see my score, there's a lot of pencil marking highlighters.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because you will forget. So when you listen, you mark it right away. So make sure next rehearsal. Or I put some post-it for next rehearsal so I know which area to discuss with musicians. So you have to be prepared. You have to be, organized. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Yeah.
So where can people audition? How do they know that you're in need of musicians?
We always audition is always open. We have actually a few musicians in line because of this COVID-19, so we have to delay the session. But they can go to our website fasofoundation.org, and then they can sign up and then submit their resume, submit their bios over there for audition, and we will schedule them for audition. Yeah,
Galing.
yeah, it's fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Shroder, Kuya Bob, thank you so much.
Paco. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll invite you back, huh?
Sure, yeah.
Especially after the COVID thing,
Yeah.
before you do your
Yeah.
concert, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, then I can play flute.
Oh, yes. Part of the performance. I saw your video, what was that? That was Ogie Alcacid piece yata that I saw.
Yeah.
I'll post that also
Yeah.
in the description. I'll post the link in the description.
And at the end of the day, it's always about the blessing.
Amen.
Yeah. It's all about the blessing. Hard work, of course. We have to work hard. But,
Yes.
it's always tied up with the blessing.
God is good all the time.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Kuya Bob.
My pleasure.
God
Thank
bless you.
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay. We'll be back. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. And don't forget to reach out and support FASO. We'll see you again on the next episode. Ang galing.
Ayos.
Ang ganda.
Marami pag-usapan.
Ang ganda.